Good afternoon. It's Thursday, October 24th, and I call the special meeting of the Monterey Public Library Board of Trustees to order. It is 4:34 p.m. And Francesca, if you could please do the roll call and explain to folks how they might participate in the meeting.
Yes. Library Trustee Joshi,
Present.
Library Trustee Moreau, Library Trustee Putty,
Here.
Vice Chair Delamrier, and Chair Silvera.
Here.
And for anyone who is not joining us here in the council chambers, you may find information on participating in today's meeting by viewing the agenda at isearchmonterey.org.
Okay, our first item, we are pleased to have Ali Ladio here from the Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation to give us what we hope will be like a semi-annual report on what the Friends and Foundation are doing. So thank you very much for being here.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. It's nice to see all of you again. I'm Allie, the president of the board of the Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation. And yeah, I think it's been a little while, so I'm happy to report just a little update on what the Friends and Foundation has been up to. We've welcomed 5 new board members at our last annual meeting over the summer. So that's always some exciting new energy, a lot of really great new skills. And in particular, we have folks that are really interested in event planning and coordination and communications work, which have been some key areas we've been focusing on. So it's been fun sorting our new board members into the committees and things like that. And we said farewell to a couple of board members rolling off, but all of whom are still interested and involved in various projects and committees. So excited that I don't have to say bye for long to those folks. We really have been putting a lot of energy into strengthening the flow of communication and coordinating and just having a lot of clarity with our committee work, which has been feeling really good. And it's just working well, just making sure that there's a good distribution of responsibilities and efforts. And in particular, I just want to shine a light on our communications committee has been doing a lot of great work with our Instagram. And we've been going back to monthly newsletters from the Friends and Foundation where we highlight things going on in events, which hasn't always been the case. And so it's exciting to see the impact of that. With just getting people to notice us and open things. And we have a lot of new followers on Instagram and things like that. So it's a great way to engage with the community. And one of the reasons to have a strong communications committee, of course, is to get the word out about events and things like that that are going on. And so I just wanted to update that we've had a few interesting new events this year that have been really successful. One was our trivia night event with Sam Betchery and Alinda and a group of volunteers put together a trivia night fundraiser. The library staff was incredibly helpful with that. And it was a full house and just a really fun way to get new folks engaged. And Sam did a really wonderful job with that. And we're just really happy to have them in the community, and we might try to do something like that similar in the future. We were trying out different types of author talks, trying to figure out how to get folks engaged with that as well. And we had our Books and Cooks has been a category of author talks that has been really fun. We're bringing in speakers that are either cookbook authors or related to the cooking field and in the area. And we had an Ad Astra event especially, which was standing room only, and just was really exciting to see how people want to come together to see folks like that in the community. And on November 16th, we have one featuring a local cookbook author and influencer named Caroline Chambers, and she'll be speaking, like I said, on November 16th. That was originally scheduled to be in the community room, as most of our talks are, but it was sold out so quickly that we reached out to try to see about changing to a larger venue. So now we're actually just reopened ticket sales, and that event will be held at the Irvine Auditorium at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies, hosted by the Friends and Foundation still, supported by the event space. And now we have 60 more potential tickets to sell, which is also really exciting because a lot of these are folks that are new to the Friends and Foundation. They're local fans of this author. And so it's been fun to engage a new group like that. And a lot of them, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but we have been getting a lot of donations. We have that option to make a gift as they buy their ticket. And so it's been great to see people engaged with that as well. So I invite you all to join if you're interested in that on November 16th. I wanted to share another thing that's very present right now on our minds is the MC Gives campaign, which I've been working on with Brian. We were accepted to be a part of the MC Gives campaign as a fundraising push again. And this year, our campaign effort is focused on memories of Monterey, expanding efforts to increase access to the Monterey history for personal and library collections through digitization. That's sort of the quick pitch on that. And we're working on our challenge gift outreach right now. And so far, so good. I think let's see, I have it right here. We have 5,000 and I wrote the number down wrong. Yes. $5,250. Final answer. That's what we have so far for our challenge fund. Our goal last year was to hit around 10,000, and I think we got there, and that felt like a really nice round number to help excite people when it comes to inspiring the start of that fund. So that's the goal, soft goal I'm working with for our challenge gift, and the point of that is just to help really launch our campaign with success, because people see a list of names and board members there and then want to take part as well. So excited to see how that goes in the next couple of weeks, and then see how that carries forward for the rest of the campaign. The last thing I wanted to make sure to note on, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions, is our already putting effort into our chocolate and wine event. We absolutely love putting together the chocolate and wine event, and this last couple of years it's been very successful fundraising wise, and we want to make sure that continues to be the case. So we had our first official committee meeting for that to launch the chocolate and wine planning this past week. It will be held on Saturday, February 24th from 4 to 7 p.m. It's pretty much the same time frame and date as the last couple of years. We've already had interest from the chefs and bakers and supporters who took part last year. And so we're hoping a lot of it can be smooth transition in terms of our partnerships. And one thing I just wanted to note is that from a fundraising angle, we really want to keep most of the things the same in terms of ticket price and things that bring in the funds for that event. But one area that we think we can see more revenue from this year is corporate partners and corporate sponsors. And that's something that I have a lot of experience in. It just takes a little extra time. And so we have a couple of new members on our fund development committee, and I'm excited to see how we can get them engaged with reaching out to local businesses and trying to see what we can do with our corporate sponsorship. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that covers my big areas that I wanted to update everyone on. Let's see. Does anyone have any questions related to anything I've brought up so far?
Anyone?
I wanted to know about the challenge gift deadline. Is it the end of the month?
Thank you. Yes, so to get the challenge gifts technically can come in anytime throughout the entire MC Gives campaign, but to get the biggest bang for your buck with having, the name listed, October 31st is the deadline to be on that initial MC Weekly publication that goes out. So thank you for asking. So anytime, but by October 31st would be even better.
And to follow up from that, so there is some financial advantage to having the challenge grants, right? And I'm trying to remember what it is. So the MC Weekly matches them, or there's some sort of additive thing on there, isn't there?
It's funny you say that. Some of the phrasing in MC Gives can be a little confusing. So if I'm correct, that the total amount that we end up fundraising, a portion of that will be matched by the community foundation. The challenge gift, what's the main purpose of that isn't, I don't think that that parts gets matched, but I'll have to fact check. But really the point of it is just to inspire that early success in your campaign. So basically the stronger numbers you have at the beginning through this challenge fund helps kind of elevate our campaign above others when the full campaign launches. I don't know if anyone has any other, is that your understanding, Brian?
Yeah, so and actually part of my presentation later, I'll give some of the historical, the 2019 through 2023 MC Gives numbers, and that does include that match that you're speaking of. And it's from what I understand, we don't know the match amount until we actually get the check. So it's depending on what has gone in there. The Community Foundation and Monterey Peninsula Foundation, they figured that out towards the end. But yeah, you're right, Ali, about the October 31st deadline for getting into the print edition is really the key for that. And they're trying to get boards to donate into there. That's part of the challenge grant. Our portion of it is trying to get more boards to donate into their nonprofit agencies for the purpose.
So
Thank
it is full
And-
on the challenge gifts, if on the form you put that you're a member of the Board of Trustees or on the board of the Friends of Foundation, because that's what we'll do in the week.
Before I forget, I want to make sure I update my date that I gave you guys for chocolate and wine. It's February 22nd, which is a Saturday. Last year it was on the 24th. So 2, 22, 25. Thank you.
Ali, what's been the response to the channels grant? Have you had a good response on that?
Yes, I mean, the folks we've reached out to so far about it are the group that gave last year and our current board members. And so we still have a couple of more reminders to give, and we're going to work on pulling a list of folks that gave to the MC Gives last year that could be at a challenge gift level, and do a little bit more outreach over the next week. So we'll still see more come in. Yeah, but so far so good. I'm especially pleased with some of our new board members that are giving, because there is a $500 minimum gift, so it's not everybody that can do that. So it's exciting when people are making it a priority. So yes, it's going well.
Okay.
So if I understand you right, it's neither an advantage to the donor nor to the friends if somebody donates under the challenge. I mean, to me, that's very confusing. Usually when you see a challenge, it implies matching. And so the only advantage to a donor, if they do it by the 31st, is they get their name on a list in the weekly newspaper. But it doesn't change the size of their donation, doesn't change the income tax deductibility of it, nor does it get matched and therefore increase in size as far as what the friends receive. Is that all right?
I think that's right. And I think the main reason it helps people out is really it helps elevate that when MC Gives launches, it starts all on the website, it starts showing the top fundraising organizations. And so if you're in one of those top, you get seen first. So if someone's going to go scroll through and check out the MC Gives challenges, they'll see, oh, this organization is doing well. And so there is definitely proof that helps, showing that, you want to join the winning team. Success begets success. Typically donors, there are some that want to help the underdog, but a lot of, typically people will find those organizations that are getting well funded and kind of join in on that success. So yeah, it's a little bit of a soft benefit.
Well,
But
it seems intuitive, but not documented or documentable. If I'm trying to decide whether I want to donate, and I see Marcia Moreau's name on there, and I say, "Oh, Marcia, geez, if she's donating, I'm going to too." Then it might have that kind of effect.
I agree.
Doesn't actually change it financially, or in terms of income tax deductibility for a nonprofit a donation to a nonprofit, or any of that kind of stuff. It's a very
I would rename it.
but
I think
it's a subtle
It
implication.
should be
Yeah.
an inspiration fund. We should come up with a new name because something that's a little less confusing.
Well, only because challenge is used in so many other contexts by other organizations, and if it doesn't clearly say, it certainly implies a match. That if there's $1,000 in challenge, then if somebody donates 1,000, it'll get matched by what you have donated as part of the matchor rather than the matchee. I don't know, but
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, those are great questions. Thank you.
Allie, can I add on that? I think part of the challenge grant process, challenge gift process is also having the boards do that outreach themselves. I mean, we do it throughout the process, but it's to see, it's the time frame for the nonprofit to go out there and say, we want you to do this. And then it goes on to that platform. And then our profiles are up on the platform for the general people that are donating to see all of the different organizations and making those on there. Because if it goes past, it looks like past mid-November, that challenge grant linked on the website goes down, and then people have to go through paper website to donate through a challenge gift. So it is like, as you're saying, Trustee Petty, it's really like promotion is really what it is. And I think it's just like, it's a marketing kind of a tool for them, because the match component, they don't tell you, they say last year we matched X%, but it doesn't say how much they're total going to match annually.
Historically, there's been a portion of the total donated to MC Gives that is divvied up amongst all of the participating nonprofit groups. And it varies on the size of the donations that they received and all that kind of stuff. It might be worth somehow publicizing that, because that way I'm not potentially misled by the word challenge. But if you say, well, if the Friends of the Library gets more than X dollars, then some percent of that will be I don't want to say matched, but contributed in addition by the community foundation. And that would maybe motivate me more, or as much as the word matching would.
If I may make a suggestion, you could have a chart in the library that shows one of those sliders, here's the challenge grant, here's how much has been met.
Right.
This is an incentive and information for Bob.
And a picture of it in the e-blast that Brian puts out, right?
Yes. On the
Yeah.
website.
Great ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. We really appreciate you coming and talk
Just
to
one more question.
Oh.
Who's going to be the president next year? Are you going to continue?
What a simple question. We currently have a vacant seat for VP, and our goal is to have a system where the vice president rolls into the president role. And we tried really hard to get someone interested in being VP this year. And we did have some great folks step up in leadership in other ways. We have a new chair of the chocolate and wine, and we have a new chair of communications, and so on and so forth. We left that vacant on purpose because our new batch of new folks that we just brought on are so strong that we're wondering if there could be sort of a mid-year transition, and hoping to fill that role before next July. So I have strong hopes. We have some really great folks stepping up in different ways. So we'll get those conversations started early in the fiscal year, about mid-year around chocolate and wine, and try to see if we can fill that, to see, because I do think it would be the right time for a transition.
Thanks again.
Fair question.
Welcome to hang out and see the rest of the meeting, or not.
I'm going to have to jump, so I appreciate it, but feel free to get in touch, and I definitely look forward to coming back to another one of these in the near future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Do we have a calendar of the Friends Board meetings?
They are quarterly. I assume we have one or can get one. Yeah, Diane is now our representative to the Friends of Foundation, so she will
Yeah.
go to every meeting.
Well,
But
if a calendar like, well, the next one is November, whatever, or January, whatever. Yeah. You mean,
Yeah,
to-
they're the second Wednesday of January, April, July, and October.
so the next one's not,
They only meet quarterly.
Anywhere.
January,
and they already had one this month, obviously.
yes,
So
they
the next
just
one's
had
in
one.
January.
Yeah.
If there was, you could send those dates to Francesca so she could share them with us.
I have them.
Sure.
And that's the way it should go through the,
I already have them.
And I
Good
thought
stuff.
that all of the library trustees were copied the agenda. I'll have to see if
No.
that's happening.
Marcia and I used to, well, Harish and then Marcia and I used to be the delegate or the liaison.
The liaison.
I guess.
And only the liaison was getting it?
Only the liaison,
Okay.
I believe.
I can
So-
ask
Yeah.
for that to happen.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because even if we aren't taking part, knowing what's coming up on the agenda would maybe spur some
Mhm.
advance answer or questions for me to pose.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes and then some very meaty informational reports. Do I have a motion to accept the items on the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second by Marcia. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? I already told Kim outside, but I'd just like to repeat that I was very appreciative of her thorough quarterly report on activities, and it's particularly that, I mean, the breadth of what you're doing and that you named all staff members and gave what their position was. That was very helpful, I thought. And I was just intrigued and impressed by everything that was on there.
Okay. Question about the printing thing.
Mhm.
When Inga was the director before you, I discussed this one time with her, and she's floated the idea that if you want to have a job printed, you could put it in your account instead of bring it on a USB stick. Bring it, put it in your account, and then go to the library and then use your account to say, print it now.
Mhm.
Is that something still in the cards, or is that possible now even?
Yeah, so we're still waiting for our IT department to finalize the contract with the print vendor. And what's happening right now is they're looking into they're just working on the contract details as they do what's called a piggyback contract. The vendor we may be going into, I believe, has either an upload or an upload or an email feature. So either you email it to the device or you upload it off of our site to there rather than to your account. Some of the ones that have it to your account, it's not generally to your, what we would call your patron account on the website. Wouldn't be that you would upload it to a third party print vendor website, which authenticates through your card. So this one would be similar to that, where you could send it from your house or whatever and just have
Right.
it there ready. And then when you come in, you could print it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just seems so primitive to have to carry the stick around with you and bring it.
Yeah, and that's part of the, there's the security features on there right now because because the printer does not have the management of, it has the older spot system, which we call it, or the
The AirPrint.
what am I thinking of? Cassie? Yeah, Cassie and Spot. And Cassie and Spot, they're the older systems that we are going to be replacing. And so with those ones, typically, because the way we used to do it is you would upload from the Wi-Fi. And then this is what happened is that our Wi-Fi network was upgraded. And when Wi-Fi network was upgraded, we got a lot of issues integrating with Cassie and Spot. So that's why we're partially going to a new print system.
Okay.
It'll be newer and more features.
Any other questions or comments? from
Um,
trustees?
Yeah, I was just wondering how your searches are going.
Right now, Kim and I have interviews for the local history librarian next week scheduled. Um, we've, we have several candidates, all of them confirmed their interview times, so we're
I
happily,
noticed that's the one you had 40 applicants for.
I don't, is that, okay, yeah, there was, I thought we might have had even more, but just got screened out. I'm not sure. But that's, we had the local history librarian, I'm waiting for the HR department. They were supposed to call me back last week, and I've got to call them again this week regarding the assistant library director, because that position was approved, and you will see it in the position control list, and also the approved salary schedule that went to city council. So the city council had to approve the salary schedule
Mhm.
and create like a position number for that, for the assistant library directors. That's been approved also, and that's on there.
So just a question about that. Once they approve it, does the money get loaded into position control, or only when only when the search is successful and you have a candidate?
So the money is already there at the beginning of the year. So when they budget it, the finance department works with specific people in the finance department that work on salary.
Mhm.
And there's a person in there that says for the entire year, this is what your salaries are going to be. So that's why sometimes you'll see on your full-time or regular part-time, your numbers are not always correct, because if you have somebody that leaves mid-year, or if you don't hire a position for a period of time, you don't fill those hours. So the position was budgeted July 1, even though the position was not fully approved by council until they went back to redo the salary schedule and approve the position through the union. And so there's multiple steps that happen, but at the beginning of the fiscal year, they appropriated the funding for it.
So does that mean you have access to those funds for part-time people and things like
Mm-hmm.
that?
Not that I'm aware of. Those are different, pay, what I would call like a bucket, the account code. And we can't use like that account to transfer into like collections or something like that. There's a
Or
request,
even use it for part-time people?
it's a request that that's up to, I think, approval of the city manager and finance director. They would have to approve that. But I think they generally do not transfer funds from what we call like 4101, 4103, and 4109. They generally do not transfer funds through those numbers. So I would have to get a special exemption.
Until the position's filled, ready.
Well, I just mean like during the fiscal year, they don't transfer the funds out of those into different buckets, different in codes. But I would have to confirm with them if we had an exception.
Brian, I had a question about the community room upgrades. What's the time frame on that? Will the room be not available for a week, a month?
This week, right now. So the flooring was just finished yesterday. The ceiling lighting, one of our city staff is there today and is going to be there till tonight. He's planning 7 or 8 tonight to get as much done, but he's been working on the lighting. And so we're going to get the majority of just like the ceiling lights done, but then like ceiling tiles, I think can be done after hours, can be done around library programs. So it might not be fully finished, but the room will be operational by, I believe, this Saturday.
Great.
So people will be able to use it, but we're going to come back. And as I mentioned, we're going to be hanging some new pendant lights, doing some new things in there, ceiling tiles. And then also the plan is at some point to do acoustic panels along the side, because it is a harder floor. So, and the ceiling tiles have a higher acoustic rating than the old ones, but you still want to have like generally 2 out of 3 positions to have acoustic rating. You want something on the walls, ceiling, or you want, floor, whatever it's going to be. You want 2 out of 3 of that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, can we have a vote, or does anyone object to the consent agenda being approved?
No.
Then it is.
I am abstaining.
Okay. Well, then
One more thing, I noticed from this statistical report, which is on
Oh,
as part of this,
okay.
right? That
Yeah.
the usage is going up in almost every category since over the 23 to 24, the number of visits and the everything seems to be on an upward trajectory.
And can I make a note on that just for the wireless usage, public computer usage on that, which is that because we have a new system, the access points, the Juniper system, I'm trying to get the IT department to figure out how to actually track that data. Because we were tracking wireless sessions and we were minutes of sessions, but we were doing that through our older unit. But now they can track what they're tracking, at least on his side, we can see is potentially what we think is the logins, but then also terabytes. So they're tracking like amount of usage that's in there, but we're not tracking minutes. So the reports
They
or
all
future
show
reports
0
might be
minutes.
slightly different because of the data that we're compiling from new technology.
Mhm.
But if we can get it, I will provide it. But if I can't provide it, I'll let you guys know at the next meeting why.
Okay. That it?
I wanted to know about the tours given to the PG library staff. Is this the time that I would be asking about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on this part. How often is that done?
That was the
Because
first time I
noticed
think they've asked that.
Time.
They have a new library director, and I think the library director had came in first herself just to look at the new study pods. But then the other staff after that wanted to just see how
Okay.
things operated and
So that isn't routinely done with all area libraries?
no,
on the-
no,
okay.
it's
Because I
typically
noticed it said that some had never even been to the library.
right.
I would think that would be an interesting thing to do regularly.
It's hard sometimes for regular staff to kind of build that into
Right.
their timeline, but I do feel like it's great for library staff to visit other libraries, especially libraries that have been remodeled. So if you go to like Santa Cruz Public Library System, which has brand new libraries out there, or libraries that have remodeled in the past 10 years in Santa Clara County and San Jose, I think a lot of those are really, San Mateo County, for example, they have a lot of really great aspects to them because they've had renovations in the past 10 years. So I think setting aside time for trips is often good.
So it was those pods that triggered their wanting to.
Initially,
Sure.
but I think what happens is they get a lot of questions and we have a lot of the same members. We have a lot of people that visit both sites. And so they were saying, well, we haven't seen the California History Room, or we don't know what kind of, what your community room is like, or we don't know about your study rooms. We don't know when people ask us how to book these or how do we use these. We're not familiar with it. So it was just seeing that and then walking them through different services that we provide and activities in our own space.
All right. We'll move on to general public comments. Are there any of the general public who would like? No.
There are no public comments, Chair.
Okay. All right. So moving on to item number 7, which is Brian to discuss and provide direction on library board policies 130 and 140.
All right. Thank you, Chair Silvera. So this is looking at the number 1 is on the board policy, number 130, which is on overdue fines for the library. As you'll see on the fiscal implications, materials range from $10,000 to $25,000 annually. $25,000 was earlier, several years back, I think, when our usage was higher and we had less, I think, technology and tools for allowing people to manage their items over time. I think people are getting, there's less and less of that. And then the revenue from printing ranges from 2,500 to 3,000 annually. So these are 2 different policies. Policy 140 is on the fees collected for printing charges. And I'll start actually with 140 because that's a little bit shorter of a service. But as we are going into a new print management and PC management system, one of the things that's not reflected in the current policy is that, and this is kind of simple, but that we're going to allow people to print in color. We currently allow people to copy in color, but the new printers will allow people to print in color. And our current print fees are only for black and white. So it's just, that's partially it, but also that We are going to have a credit card payment terminal
Mhm.
at there because we get a lot of people wanting to pay for items with a tap to charge and different things. And there's a small fee for that kind of built into it. And overall, I think we want to look at how much it's going to cost us per print. And we also have new print, paper costs. And so I want to look back and investigate once we get into contract exactly what that number is going to be. We have some drafts, but because we have not finalized that contract with the vendor, I want to come back at a later meeting to say these would be the updated print charges for the library for different services we can provide. So that would be number 140. But as I mentioned, right now we're at 10 cents a page for print and 50 cents page for color. And depending on what the actual charge is going to be, whether that would be increased or not. And I think that would be something I would like to bring back to the board. So I wanted your input on that.
Could I ask about this one and the other one? The process is we give input, you come back with a proposal, and then we vote on it. Does it have to go to like the city attorney or the city manager or anybody like that? Or
believe it goes to city
at one point?
The board policy, I don't believe goes to council, but the board policy does go, the city attorney does want to review our board policy. So after this, I would work on drafts and then work
Okay.
with the city attorney and then come back to a meeting and saying, this has been something that's been vetted
Yeah.
by the city attorney. Can we discuss this?
Can I just make a comment? For this one, aren't we better off not putting a monetary figure into the policy? Because every time you change, you decide that it's, the cost of paper goes up, you gotta add another penny, then you gotta change the policy again. So is there a way to write it in such a
Hmm.
way that the dollar figure appears somewhere, but is
Yeah.
doesn't?
That's a great point. And I think what it would be is that it would instead would go to the master fee schedule,
Yes.
which is the city has a master fee schedule. So I would say something along the lines of the policy would state that the master fee, we would put it in a language that basically states that the printing policy is set, reviewed annually by, for example, the fees for printing are reviewed annually by the library and are referred on the master fee schedule. And then we would refer to the master fee schedule on there because
Mhm.
from what my research has been on there is that the master fee schedule is, I've only been here 2 years, but looking through some other requests that I've had is that it used to be that the master fee schedule was not, as far as I'm aware, not done annually, but it was done as needed because then that goes to a council motion. But since I've been here every year, we've gone through the master fee schedule to see, are there changes? Are there anything updated? And then that does go to council annually, and then we update that as needed. But this would be helpful because then if it goes in there, then when we're reviewing finances, it would go alongside other things, like if there was a parking fee change or a permit change in the city. And then the same pretty much thing would happen for, right now we do have the archival reproduction fees are as a policy. So we could essentially do that also about transferring that into a master fee schedule so that we can adjust. I will say our archival fees are actually quite low, which a lot of nonprofits appreciate. They've told me that they appreciate our archival fees are low compared to other libraries out there. So that's something we could look at too. Going forward, also the policy 130 about overdue and late fines. This is there is a attachment also, this library late fees, not just ineffective, but harmful from the Galicia group that has a lot of Q&A. I urge everyone to take a look at this because it has a lot of justifications and Q&As in there for people. Like number one, charging late fees for material teaches children responsibility. And this gives this is one of the oldest cited reasons that libraries charge late fees. The problem with this explanation for charging late fees is that most would argue that the library's primary job is to provide access to information, support literacy, and promote reading, and it's the parent's job to teach responsibility. About teaching responsibility, one librarian says, I don't think it's our task or that it's mission-centric any more than teaching people manners is. Our role is to provide access to information. Another problem with the responsibility argument is that kids have virtually no control over when their library materials get returned. Late materials has more to do with the working schedules of the parents than any sense of responsibility a child might feel about returning their books on time. And I mentioned in my report regarding the bookmobile as a service. And if you are often using the bookmobile, we are there, 1 to 2 plus hours right there, which is out of the week, once per week or once per visit. And, going to the different schools, there have been times when maybe there's a substitute teacher, maybe the kid is sick that day. When they come back, all of their items are 1 week late immediately because that's their time for visiting the library. The children that go to school here also in Monterey often live in Seaside, Marina. We have kids from Prunedale. We have kids from all over the county. I've seen kids in Hollister, that going to some of the charter schools, and we visit. We go out to San Carlos, we go to Bayview, we go to Monterey Bay Charter School, after school program now. So we are serving multiple of these students out there, and it often is a barrier because you'll receive books back. And for whatever reason, the kid could not come to your visit the last time. And there was times, there was a time when I missed one of the stops. Like there was a communication when they were out there and I missed one of the stops at San Carlos School. And that was on me. So I'm just mentioning that because I see those as barriers for bookmobile coming up. And then also that all of our neighbors, including we share a catalog and collection with Pacific Grove, and they do not charge late fines. So you can use your Monterey Public Library card and check out Pacific Grove, and you will not be charged a late fine, but you will if you use our library. So where would you prefer to check out that new release? But Harrison Memorial does not charge. Pacific Grove, Monterey County Free Library, Salinas Public Library, Santa Cruz Public Library, Watsonville Library. So the public libraries all within this region, none of them charge overdue fines. And I feel like we should, for a number of reasons. And Kim, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just add to clarify. I think you said if you miss the bookmobile stop for a school visit, that's 1 week late. It's actually 3 weeks late because it's a 3-week rotation.
Yeah.
Because the books are due every 3 weeks. So we visit the schools every 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, that's a lot. And then a lot of times the people that are hardest hit with the late fees are the families with young children, because often adults, they're just taking 2 or 3 books, but a family comes in and they're like picking out like 10 picture books per kid. And then all of a sudden they forget about it and they owe us tons of money. And so it's very impactful on families. And you hear a lot of parents getting frustrated and then just telling their kids, we're not checking out books because this is too difficult. And, that's not what you want to hear people say about visiting the library. Like, we're not checking out books because we don't want to owe the library a bunch of money.
And I will say also that a very, very small percentage of our items are on hold at any given time. And the people that are power users that use the library that know, okay, I'm going to place this item on hold. A lot of those people are very prudent users also of the library, honestly, like people that have the high holds and everything there because they want to read it and get on to the next book. So it is like, as you're saying, Kim, like a lot of just stacks and stacks of books all the time for the kids. And then also we're looking at different technology solutions to make it easier, like an auto renewal. We are working on that with Pacific Grove. We've talked with Pacific Grove because since we do share catalog and patrons, that if we implement something like that, it should be for both of our libraries. And Harrison Memorial and Monterey County Free Library both have COHA, which is our ILS, our library system, and they offer automated renewals right now. So we know that'll work, but that'll help reduce fines as well, in our opinion. But happy to answer any questions, but I'm looking forward for some feedback so we can look into coming back with a proposal for this.
Because we're so tied with Pacific Grove Library, I'm curious, did they coordinate with you or warn us?
When they waived the late, or when they they told us, and of course, they're like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. You guys can do it too. But at the time, it didn't seem feasible. So it was just unfortunate because they're a separate library. We're very connected. We try to maintain the same guidelines and rules to reduce confusion, but that became a huge diverted path at that point, and there just wasn't anything we could do at the time.
I was also curious about the Monterey County Free Libraries. Is that all branches? And how many are there?
I believe there's what,
There's like
10?
20 of them, right?
10,
Or
15?
15, or it's a lot.
Yeah, there's smaller ones all throughout. I'd have to look that up again, but that is all of the
The
entire system.
Policy.
Yeah.
System-wide.
The only ones that I could see that were, if I'm not mistaken, because a lot of going further up into the Bay Area, almost every Bay Area library has also gone fine free, and it's pretty wide throughout the entire state. San Benito County is one. San Benito is a library system, very, a lot of their policies are much older and has a much older kind of facilities as everything like that. So that was the only one that I could see that still had fines in our region was San Benito. But yeah, everywhere else, Santa Clara, San Jose, Alameda, Hayward, Livermore.
We're a little late to the party.
Yeah, so we're one of the last ones out there.
We've actually talked about this a lot in the past, before your time, and one of the things we've gotten pushback in the past from the city manager who loves to see revenue generating things. So I think it would be really important to actually show with figures that this is not a moneymaker. I mean, it's pretty clear that it isn't, and to really make the case convincingly that it isn't. I mean, it seems to me it is, in my personal opinion, it is an idea whose time has come for us. But I think that this might be one that, so my question to you is, have you talked to Nat about this at all?
I mean, even when I started here, and I brought this up with Hans at that point,
But
and
not since.
I've talked pretty regularly, and I've not gotten a no or a yes either way. But I feel like bringing this back to the board, and I'm willing to. I'm appointed by you. I'm not appointed by the city manager, and I feel like this is a process we should be working on our side. And then we would have to go back to the master fee schedule, as I mentioned on there going forward, because I believe that it might either be in there or might just refer to the policy. I'd have to look back at that again. But the revenue is decreasing and decreasing, but the confusion, and as we talk about just the role and the values and the vision for the library, it's not congruent with the roles, vision, and value of the library and the service that we provide.
I think this report, the Galicia report, is excellent and really lays out the argument about fees in a very coherent way. So it dispels the myths, and your report also. So I think that should precede the discussion. People should read that. And I also think that we should take a sense of ourselves of whether we support this or not, so that when you go forward with a proposal, you'll know that you have the support of the board.
Well, as a very long time Monterey resident, I sincerely support this effort. I remember back in the day when Monterey was the only library that charged for non-residents to use their collections. And in the spirit of cooperation, making access to information, I just think it's something that we should do, because it does cause a bad feeling with patrons if, they run up a big bill and can't pay it, or it's hard for them to pay it, and no other library is going to charge them for taking out a book and keeping it, a few days late or a week late or whatever. So I'm definitely in favor of you moving ahead.
I have two things. Before those two things, though, I would like to receive, and maybe this could be included in what I'm going to say is my second thing. But did I read correctly in here something to the effect that a proposal would be for no late fines unless there is a hold on the book, and then there would be because, there's somebody waiting in the wings and has requested it? Or maybe I didn't read that.
No,
Auto renewal won't happen if there is a
Oh,
hold on the book.
oh, okay. I knew there was
But,
something like that.
yeah.
Okay. I knew another party having a hold on it had some effect, and that's
Yeah.
what it was. Okay. So the two things, one is, I'd like to, like Marcia pointed out, it's probably not making us a lot of money. And we've maybe received this data before, but I would like to receive updated data as to how much, say, during each of the last, maybe just 3 fiscal years. You don't have to go back centuries, but just the last maybe 3 years, how much revenue there was. And anytime we're talking dollars, whether it's how much we charge for a copy or how much we have been charging for late returns of books or materials, I think we should have updated information. So I'd just like to have it,
Can I just augment that with another piece, which is that if you factor in what you bring in, you've got to factor in what it costs you. And so we can see the whole piece,
right.
because if the staff time,
I mean, what it costs to enforce
yes,
it.
yes, to
yeah.
collect it
Yeah,
from the set.
okay.
So if somebody spends a percentage of their time doing this, that needs to be subtracted off of
Okay.
the amount that's brought in.
Sure.
And so you want to see
included
a
in
bottom
that.
line. So it's got to be the whole picture.
And all of that could be included in the second thing that I wanted to. In the agenda report, it said that you would like to receive from the board at a later, the direction to create a policy draft for policy 130
Mhm,
and bring that back to us at a future day.
mhm.
I would like to move that the board direct the director to create a policy draft for policy 130, including the couple things about dollars that Marsh and I were just now talking, and bring that back at a reasonable time. So I would like to move that we do that.
I second that.
Sounds good to
Thank
me.
you.
And we need to vote.
There's a motion you need to vote.
Yes. So
Any discussion?
Well, I had a separate question,
Oh.
so I can wait until
But
after.
I'm just moving that we
Okay,
go along with the,
shall we vote on
request
the
as stated
motion
here.
then?
yeah.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
My
Any
question,
opposed?
oh, sorry.
No.
My question was about the actual mechanics of a transition like this.
Mhm.
What would be the steps that are taken and the time it would take to achieve it? Other side implications?
I would see it, and I could be wrong, but I'll talk with when I bring it forward with the communication with the city attorney, because my understanding, if it is listed as specifically master fee schedule, there's the piece that would have to go through council for them to update for the master fee schedule for the fiscal year. So it's potentially that if we change this, because if this master fee schedule does show library late fines on this fiscal year, I think that's consistent through that we would want to say as of July 1, 2025, I think that would be a good target date, in my opinion,
That is
because,
something that could be achieved. We
right,
can get there by then.
right, because I think if we bring it by, because then it gives it a point other than, there is the part of like putting it as a special agenda item for discussion in council, but I feel like if we could tie this in with master fee schedule because then you tie it in with that and they look at all of the different revenues that happen with the city and discuss, and we look at the different changes. And then if council has that as a, we want to flag this for why we think it should return, then we would have somebody from the board attend the meeting as well to speak on it as a representative. So, but that would be my guess, is that we would bring it forward. And whenever the master fee schedule came up, which would probably be March or so, we would want to have this dialed in by, I would imagine, early 2025, January, February, so that when we get to master fee schedule approval, and then it goes into July 2025. That would be my guess.
And then
Right.
the actual execution piece, rolling it out to patrons and any change in systems in procedures for staff.
Same in July, I would say, if possible. Like if we weren't charging that, I wouldn't want to charge new fines as of that time,
My concern's less about the revenue part and more about somebody taking a book away for a long time.
Mhm.
Is there a time limit where you say, okay, this is not about the fines, but you have to bring it back or pay the cost of replacement? Because otherwise,
It's
That's
in
I can
there. It's in
take a
there.
book home forever.
It's in there.
It's in,
Yeah.
It's in there, yeah. So some libraries do that for after, there's difference on, I think that's part of the research on it. Some libraries do like 28 days, some do 35 days. And they bill you for the items and they say,
Yeah.
you can't
about
return anything else. I mean, you can't
The
check out
replacement
anything
fee.
in the replacement fee. And we would still charge a replacement fees for items.
Mhm.
And so if somebody just never returns something, we're still going to charge them for that. And then, but if they return it, then it's
I
returned.
thought that was a very impressive argument that said that if you have a book out and you forget, and it's out for years, you owe hundreds and hundreds of dollars of fines on that book. And you'll never bring it back. Why would you bring it back?
$12.
Right, you throw it away. So the
Where's that
library
the case?
actually loses its stuff.
Marcia, where's that the case?
I think in every place, the fines just keep.
I thought
mounting.
it's capped at the replacement cost. of
I
the-
don't-
It's, well, the late fees are capped at $5 for kids' books and $10 for adult books. And then it eventually gets billed. And if you have to pay the replacement fee, you don't have to pay the late fees.
But I think that people think that they're gonna be embarrassed and shamed when they bring it back. They
Right.
don't bring it back. at all.
Right, I better never go to the library
Yeah,
again.
and then they don't come back because they're,
Mm.
so you lose your patrons. And that was a very compelling argument, I thought.
In the meantime, Brian, while we're working through this, what do you think is the timeframe or possibility on the automatic renewal? Because I think that would help a lot. I mean, I also go to the Seaside Library and a couple other libraries, and it's very nice when they have the auto renewal. If I'm out of town, I don't have to remember. I don't have to log in and renew it.
Unless there's.
Trivial to renew
unless
it
there's
with
a-
the app. I don't see why it needs to be auto renewed when you can just push a button on your app and say renew it.
It's,
What's there to it?
Well, we haven't had that for very long.
We've had the app.
Automatically, I mean, if the system does it, then you don't have to press the button.
You got to
don't have
remember to
put a
press the
note on
button.
your calendar
Well,
to.
We send them reminders, do we not?
You get a text. Yeah.
If you have an email address, you get the courtesy reminders, yes. But people don't check their email as well as they used
And
to.
text,
I mean, they can get
text.
text, they can opt into text too, but they have to proactively do that. We don't automatically text people without their permission. And for the automatic renewal, we are working through that process right now. We're going through it. There's multiple steps required to set it up, and we've had to coordinate with Pacific Grove Library. Right now, we're waiting for our vendor to set some stuff up on the back end. And then once everything's set up and we're able to train staff, then we should be able to roll it out and be able to inform everybody.
So we're gonna make it easy for them to ignore messages.
Well, yeah, but
it's, I mean, I'm going to say this. I mean, how many of your bills are, I don't know, how many people set up auto pay on utility bills or different things like that out there. That's pretty standard practice out there, is to have something out there on an auto renewal. And this is part of the thing about using technology to do that. I work a lot, right? I work a lot. And I also spend a lot of time with my son, and he checks out a lot of books from PG in Monterey. And honestly, an email from the library is not the highest thing on my list.
And sometimes you're
So-
traveling and you're
and
away from your phone.
I've-
Sometimes you have an information blackout because there's an election coming and you don't read your email.
I prefer to have something like that as much as possible automated, because it's something that it's one less website that I have to log in, click, or do anything additional on there. So if it's in there and they do it, that's fantastic. But I'm usually on the text. I do it on my text as much as possible. That's why we added the text. But it's
Does it also add to our statistics? A renewal is counted as a circulation,
yes,
so that's another good thing.
yeah. But it's just like we're trying to make it easier on the user as much as possible. And I say like one of our things about people reading is like our newsletter, those kind of things. That's where we get a lot of the news out. We don't get a lot of word out of anything through our checkout, about like, hey, your items due. Like, people don't use that as a way to really engage with the library. They engage more about newsletter, coming in and seeing everything in person.
Brian, what's typical at other libraries that utilize an auto renewal system? Does it just keep auto renewing indefinitely?
It's typically
There's a
2 to
number of
3.
times.
Usually 2 to 3 renewals. It's pretty standard around this region.
And then what happens to the borrower of the book if they've been auto renewed, the maximum number of times? What happens?
Then you get additionally, that's the end of when the item is due. And after that 28 days or whatever that's going to be, or 35 days, then it gets billed. And you get a bill in your
For a
mail
replacement.
or a replacement saying that
It's
this is,
considered lost.
it's considered lost in,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I was just thinking if there was some kind of a scale, like the first time it's renewed for 3 weeks, the next time it's renewed for 2 weeks, the next time for 1 week. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
but the main point was that after there is a limit to how many auto renewals.
There
At that point, they're sent a bill. And my guess is that they don't pay up for the replacement of that book, let's say, then they're not allowed to check out any more books for a while.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or
So that's the ultimate sanction, if you will.
Right.
Okay.
So chances are when the bill comes in, you bring the book back.
Well,
We want to make it easy, but without them taking advantage of it.
Mhm.
Say, okay, now I can just afford to ignore it. And that keeps somebody else from checking out the book.
And I will say, Monterey, we're not the most unique library, and we're not the only library in the world, right? If other libraries are consistently, if Seaside is able to make this work, if Carmel is able to make this work, if every library out there around us is able to make this work, why is it not going to work in Monterey?
But the other
Yeah.
piece is if somebody else wants the book, then they put a hold on it and then it doesn't automatically renew anymore.
So
If you want a book that I have, you put a hold on it. When it's due, I get a notice that says it's
Okay.
due, I gotta bring it back.
So it won't auto renew just because,
Right.
right, it doesn't auto renew if you have somebody as a hold on it.
On it. If nobody else wants it, then you can keep renewing it either by pressing a button or them doing it. But
okay,
once somebody puts a hold on it, then you gotta bring it back.
or you run out of your
Yeah.
renewals.
But some of the data from that report shows that it seems to be working, that they're actually losing fewer books. The automatic assumption would be, oh, I never have to bring this book back. I'll just keep it.
yeah.
But that doesn't seem to be the way it's working. It seems to be that more books are coming back in than were before, which is quite, I find interesting. And so this report did dispel a lot of myths about,
Because a lot of it is guilt driven. It's not so much about the money.
Item.
It's about,
Yeah.
okay, off.
I mean,
The
2
bird-
a day.
Oh, I think the upside of our being late to this model is that all these other libraries have implemented it, and so we'll have an easy time following whatever best practices are already out there.
Yeah.
And working.
Yeah, I think the best practice is also because there's always confusion from the user. And so if you go to one library and you regularly use that library, and then you also use another library, and we find that with a lot of our users is that 50% of our card holders live outside of Monterey. And so they live in other areas where they have auto renewal or they have, no fines, and they have cards in those libraries. Right. And so there's like, if the more consistent we can share these information of how we do things out there.
Right.
It's-
We have no reason to overcomplicate things or make it harder on people to use our library as opposed to another in the area.
As long as you don't allow somebody to abuse the system, that's fine.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're all agreed on this, so let's move along to our final item, which may have to be continued to another time. A little background on Library Fund Development Report. The board last received a report in July of last year, and we've tried to have it on the agenda for a couple of months now, and the Fund Development Officer was not available for various reasons to give us a report. Brian is going to talk to us about the situation, the current situation, and we'll have some discussion. We will not be talking about anything personnel related, but we will talk about what the situation is now and what could be done in the future. And we have this attachment from pre-pandemic time. It's very thorough, but it was what was used to justify creating the foundation from the Friends and Foundation. So it may be something to consider in the future for where we go next. But Brian, if you would like to give us, please, a brief report.
Yeah, sure. And I'm asking Francesca to turn on. Thank you, Francesca. This is just some numbers are pulled up. I'm hoping it'll come up there. And this is not in the packet. I've been working on this recently. So I'm going to go through 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. These are numbers for what we call donor perfect, which is our donor number. So some of these may not be exact because of how we track the data. And I am not the best person at getting this data. My apologies, our fund development team would be better, but highlight on the total of their 2021 revenue. And we'll go into the annual at the very end for trust fund, because this is, so things like there's a number of appeals in here. So like you'll see in this one says 2020 fall appeal at 2,000 and 2021 fall appeal of 9,915. That's because there was a fall appeal in 2020 and people still sent in checks in early 2021. So this is calendar year. This is not fiscal year. Keep that in mind as well. So that's why also you will see things like MC Gives for 2020 and then also 2021 MC Gives. So I wanted to highlight that as well. In there's a spring appeal which raised $18,820. Looks like there was a state of the library event that was $448. General, that's a combination of different kind of individual donations throughout the year. Trust fund donations $19,935, and then spring appeal $420, and fall appeal $3,580. Those ones right there look to be, if I'm not mistaken, those are bottom was a spring appeal and fall appeal are letters that are different than or they were marked different than the other spring and fall appeal numbers. You can go to the next slide. The 2022 revenue saw an increase from 145 up to 161. You'll see the chocolate and wine was at 17,480. Fall appeal, the MC Gives, and I'll go over MC Gives shortly too, but MC Gives was a larger, was actually not marked in the 2021. So keep that in mind. Or actually, I'm sorry, it was, 45,828, and then 2022 was 47,849, at least marked in here. Monterey Public Library Friends and Foundation Spring Appeal 10,211. General 24,901. Our trust fund donations were 33,456. Next slide. 2023 went down to 115,659. And this is where you see the chocolate and wine. What I see the revenue off that 18,432. Dine around town from the Friends 600. Trivia night $70. That's just a trade over because 2024 is actually where the event was. Fall appeal 2,757. There was MC Gives of 64,122, so that was over half of that. The MPLFF Spring Appeal 160, so that was what was marked from some letters on there. And our general donations 27,029, and trust fund general 1,706. 2024, if you can go to that, thank you. Next, this does not, the big gap in this right now is the MC Gives is not marked because those are generally November and December. So at this time, we're at 75,634. And also, I believe chocolate and wine, because of how the donations went, because those went, I don't know how they're marked, but that's not exactly what we got chocolate and wine, because chocolate and wine was closer to around $30,000, I believe. So there are some numbers, as I mentioned, the figures, I'm not the best at this, but they may not be marked in the system at this time. Dine around $600. Trivia night was $610. Big Sur Marathon, we have volunteers from the Friends and Foundations go there. We get a check $1,500 for that. There was 2,292 marked from appeals letters. The MC Gives at this point is 1,950 marked in the system. General donation 60,806. Part of that, there were a couple larger donations. I had a couple of talks with donors. One was 25,000, I know, for summer reading program. Another $10,000 from an estate. Those were two of the larger donations off of there. And then trust fund general 947. If you can go to the next slide, please. This shows your MC Gives campaigns as well as what that match is. So on the left, you'll see I don't have 2024 listed because that just pretty much launched. And so the numbers are not, I don't have the numbers yet. But last year was our highest at $73,000, 218 total. That included that $9,568 match that we got from the Community Foundation. And they match up to, I believe, when you raise up to $75,000, they do the percentage match up to $75,000 there, and they distribute that. So it's good we're right around that number. And the year before it was 49,672. Year prior 58,737. The year before that 46,891, and the year before that 29,025. So the overalls you'll see range from 31,840 in 2019, and going up to 50, then 65, then down to 55, down to 73. So a lot of that, I think, on the MC Gives is often the work of Friends and Foundation, the library director, the fund development in terms of stewarding the program, what program it is, as well as having communication with donors about that. And then final slide is annual total trust fund contributions. And I will note, I didn't pull out on this, and thank you, Francesca, for the information on this and for your help. And thank you, Julia, for her help as well on this. But I will note that this includes grants. So this could include state grants or different grants that we get for services. So that's why these numbers here are going to be different than what you saw earlier, right? So far year to date, 337,000 in our trust fund. Last year was 381. The year prior, 260, 230, then 295 in 2020. But you've seen that big jump as of 2020 and above of like how we're going, because before that we were at 133, 119, 107, 98. It's gone up since that report. Also, I think about creating the Friends and Foundation and the library looking at different grants to support other services. I think a combination of those factors has really contributed to a healthy trust fund for us and increasing our revenue over time. So I just wanted to provide some numbers and some comparisons for the board. So that's why I apologize they weren't in the packet, but I've just been working on that past couple of days to provide those for you guys. And But just that I will note that to me, I guess, as I mentioned in the report, and I want to look at I would like to look at the, fiscal opportunities, because I think the Friends and Foundation have a very robust board in terms of, and that is their organization. I feel like we work in tandem, but that is the Friends and Foundation. That is not for me to direct their services, to provide advice and have meetings with Ali and their other team members as available whenever we need, and but to work together on this, on different projects. So Ali and I have been communicating regarding a new appeal letter and these kind of items like that. So, but I think because it's much more robust, I am interested in, where is the overlap of, we are now having a part-time fund development person, when priorly we had the report, we had a regular part-time, which was a 30-hour versus a 20-hour, and we've had a different structure of things over time. And is it time for us to look at the structure of how these interact and who does what role? Is it that the library does specifically one-to-one donors and, not events, or do we do, and that's kind of a discussion I think I would be interested in looking back at about there. And yeah, happy to answer any questions. But I think that, I think that what I will note is that I did a survey of libraries across what we call Pacific Library Partnership, which is going up to Marin County, east through Solano, down to Monterey, and who had staff members as a fund development or an executive director or some kind of role like that. There's only 2 libraries that have that in the entire region. That
have what?
that have a staff member, a city staff member or a county staff member as doing fund development. And I'm talking here about in terms of the cost that incurs to our trust fund every year. And those are Monterey Public and my old system of Alameda County. Those are the only 2 systems. Every other system either has a director, executive officer, or a volunteer that is a member of the Friends or the Friends and Foundation.
I'm sorry, what was the other library that,
Alameda County.
oh,
I think the key is going to be clarifying the roles
Mhm.
of who does what, and knowing that all these other libraries don't employ somebody. Do they though write grants, and do they have trust funds? And so those are things that are administered by their directors or some other staff who has the tasks that a fund development officer would have.
Yes.
So you would need to have somebody on staff, like, well, Julia keeping up the database.
Right. So I mean, the roles, I think, and that's why I was thinking about with whether that's bringing back library strategies or another organization to figure out what the role is, where the structure and where the role is. And this is where I would say, I can give you a very quick list, because I mean, I was actually talking with San Francisco Public Library staff the other day, and when I was at California Library Association, they were talking about the library director at the time calling in the Friends director and calling in the Friends president and calling in the foundation director and said, guys, get in my office, figure this out. And they created a Friends and Foundation eventually. But it was like, these libraries have a foundation or library staff: Berkeley, Redwood City, Carmel, Santa Clara City, San Francisco, San Mateo City, Santa Clara County, Cabrillo College has a foundation, Monterey County Free Library, San Jose Public. And then 2 libraries that have a volunteer person that's not paid, but there's a position that they do it through the Friends, is San Leandro and Hayward. And so the 2 that have a city or county staff person that is the fund development that goes and does the outreach on there is Alameda County and Monterey.
The person you said you just talked to at the conference, it went by really quick, but You said the foundation president and the Friends president, like they were two different,
They were two different organizations.
interesting
And
model I've never heard of.
yeah, so those San Francisco, and for years, San Francisco had they have a very, very robust Friends and Foundation now. But at the time, and I believe this was back in Luis Herrera's day, is that they had two different ones and they were operating separately and never really interacting. And he was like, no, you got to get on board and aligned. And that's where the impetus for them creating a Friends and Foundation was through conversations with their director at that time.
That's very interesting. A lot of the study that was done with library strategies was about converting the Friends of the Library to a Friends and Foundation, which was adopted. And it was really pretty gratifying going through this, being able to look at half of these things we've accomplished. And we always refer back to this report thinking, well, there was a pandemic in there and everything changed. But a lot of the economy recovered, just not the library's budget. But
That's an advocacy.
right, but donors recovered
Uh-huh.
in the general economy. And so our ability to raise funds came back.
Right.
Uh,
Um, it- I find it absolutely fascinating that if you look at page 30 of this packet, which has the projections done in 2018 for what the fund should be raised, it says 2021, the goal 145,000. What did they raise? 145 and $333, right on target. Fiscal year 2022, which is the last projection on here, was 169,250, and they raised 161,360. So not only did most of the goals set in this thing get achieved, like the formation of the Friends and Foundation, like the all of those kind of things, but the actual goals were achieved too, which I found pretty amazing. But I think the most important thing, I don't think we can do a whole lot tonight. I mean, I
No.
think this has got to be continued on,
Mhm.
but I think that the most important thing is that everybody's on the same page and there's a smooth operation between Friends and Foundation and Brian and the board and everybody, is that it all meshes. I also think in some sense, it's really lucky. I mean, when I came onto this board, the fundraiser was paid out of the city. And to have somebody on staff to help Brian if their direction is, I mean, it seems to me that one of the things that might be missing here is the getting out to meet in a systematic way the large donors,
Mhm.
which you have time to go meet them, but you don't have time to do the whole setup and everything.
The
You need somebody
administrative.
to be the back room, hey, Brian, I invited this potential donor who's got $15 million and no children and wants to know where to leave their money. I invited him to lunch tomorrow. Can you show up? You need somebody to do that. That's not the Friend and Foundation, I don't think. They're kind of more events and getting the word out kind of thing, but you need somebody to support this fundraising effort.
That's why I was interested in the division of leadership, having a Friends and a Foundation lead,
well, when
because
we-
the foundation is more about cultivating large donors, where the Friends would be the events and the community engagement and.
Right, but when we explored that, we looked at so many models where the Friends and the Foundation were like butting heads, and we said, why don't we just avoid that same thing?
Right.
We were late to the game,
Friends and
so we could look at all the mistakes that people made and learn from that. But now that we have a really well-functioning Friends and Foundation, I think the next part is to try to mesh that, in our minds as we work through this with what you need, only you
Mhm.
can do. And what you don't want is an organization raising money for stuff you don't want. I mean, there's gotta be a really clear communication and a close working relationship between all of it. And so how that works is something to be figured out.
Yeah.
But
Right,
that's
I
the
think-
goal. The goal is that this all works like a well-oiled machine. And that seems to me that there's a lot of potential in this community that could be tapped
Mhm.
if you had the time and the infrastructure to do that. And we could help too, or, whatever else, but that's. I think-
I think we have to end now. It's
Yeah.
almost 6 o'clock
Yeah.
and we did start late, but
Yeah.
this is a big issue and an important issue, and I would like to see it carried on at
Yeah.
our next opportunity. There's also the interlocking issue of advocacy and the down the road issue of supporting a new building or a remodel, that kind of thing. So,
Agenda for next
thank you,
time.
everyone.
If we're going to refer to the meeting that we're likely to have early in December
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
as a special meeting, then I would like to have this be the topic, the special topic of that meeting. Period.
Okay.
Good idea.
Right,
I
and,
think we
and
can
do we,
that.
do
and-
we talk about what the next steps are at this point, or how do we go about,
I don't understand
I
your
mean,
question.
well, figuring out what we want
What
to
do we
achieve
do
at
in
that?
between
Yeah,
Well,
now and
since either we as a group vote to have a special meeting for a particular purpose, or our chair calls the special meeting to discuss a particular topic, doesn't matter to me. And it looks like we're getting ready to go home tonight, so it's probably going to be Janie who, uses her position to call a special meeting. And I'm sure that if she uses some of the language from what's in our current agenda tonight and adds to it an overlay of some topics or some directions, none of us are going to complain if we, deviate from any of those a little bit, because it'd be related.
now, are we thinking that this would be the December meeting or it would be different from that? I mean,
You mean the
I
December
prefer that we
meeting?
just extend the December meeting to add this in rather than having two separate meetings, I think.
right, okay.
because we already missed November.
Yes,
How
we're-
far behind will that put us on regular business
Right.
if we
Well,
dedicate?
historically, there's only been one meeting during the last 2 months of the year
Right,
because of
but
the
if we're
holiday.
going to dedicate it to this subject, are there other things that would normally cycle in
Oh, I see what you're saying.
the December
Well,
agenda?
we have in the past, if for whatever reason we didn't have a meeting or something. And some of these reports that we get month after month after month, we just received 2 months at a time. A couple
Right.
months into the future. And I see no problem with doing that every now and then, from my point of view.
On this tentative schedule of topics for board meetings, draft calendar we have for December, discuss and approve recommended mid-year budget adjustments, if any. That sort of depends on what's going on at finance and the council and all that. And we also have annual state survey statistical report. Now, Brian, are these are time sensitive or no? Do you think?
I haven't gotten any direction from the city that we are looking at mid-year budget at this time. So
Yeah.
as our regular meeting go forward, I think it would be good for us to, when we meet in November, to kind of look at this and discuss it and then possibly come back to the board.
Meet
To
when?
dis-
We're not meeting in November though.
You and I just mean like if you're available,
Oh,
like when we meet
got it.
with I meet
Yes.
with the chair and often with chair and vice chair. And I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
when we meet and discuss, I think it would be good for us to look at these topics and then come back and announce to the board what the December meeting would be based on the topics from the city.
So perhaps before we adjourn, we could figure out what the date of that meeting will be.
Do we know,
Does
Francesca?
that, or do you want to
Do
do
we
that
have
by
a-
mail? I mean,
I
Has
haven't
everyone
heard yet
responded?
from Bob.
Well, you said, I think the 11th as one of the dates,
Mhm.
but I don't know if you said the time. And the
Before
other 2 or
3
3
p.m.
dates that you listed, I know you didn't say the time because I emailed you and asked, well, what time of the day are you thinking?
Well,
Oh,
there's-
I did.
Yeah, there's another email
There's,
that went.
there's
out,
multiple emails that all list the times.
Sorry about it.
And
Then, yeah.
I think
so
Today,
Monday, December 9th is open. Tuesday.
All day long?
Yes.
Okay.
If we did do it that day, it would likely be best to do it at 2 p.m. or after, since that's when the library opens, but we could do it before that time. Tuesday, December 10th before 12 p.m. Wednesday, December 11th before 3 p.m. Thursday, December 12th.
But before 3?
Correct.
it has to end at 3 for me.
Right, exactly.
Another event.
And
But
then
Monday, you said the 9th?
Monday, the 9th,
Monday, like after 2 p.m. would be good.
or 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Or if you,
Yeah, 2 p.m. plus. The 10th was when? What were the
or
Was
12 p.m.
morning.
AM on the 10th?
Correct.
I'm out of, I can't,
Okay, so no on
No,
the 10th.
not on the 10th.
So just the 9th,
the 9th.
the 11th,
The 11th was finished by 3, if I remember.
right,
Heard somebody. And the 12th is
before 1:30 p.m.
before 1, so
No.
finished by 1:30.
Correct.
No,
Nope,
the 12th of Thursdays, I'm
No.
tied up
Okay.
until noon.
And then,
Friday.
yes, and then Friday the 13th,
Friday the 13th.
Right,
at
thir-
or
Oh,
after,
boy.
in the afternoon,
right?
either Monday or Friday.
Monday or Friday?
I mean, either one is fine, Monday or Friday.
What time on
Anybody-
Friday?
Is there anybody who can't make either of those times?
What
Do you have a
time on Friday
preference?
are we talking?
At or after 12:30 p.m.
Okay, start at 12:30.
or later.
Or later.
Okay.
That's
Which
fine.
Friday now? This is
The
the
13th
13th?
or Monday the 9th.
Either of those is fine.
I'm fine with either
Yeah.
one.
Let's do Monday the 9th.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Get
Soon.
it done with.
Okay.
Sounds
And
good.
at 2 p.m.,
Afternoon.
3 p.m., 4 p.m.
Oh,
is your
Well, how
preference?
about
No,
two?
no, no.
Two is good.
What do you have?
That's the one
Uh-oh.
to do. Could we make it a 3?
Oh, wait a minute.
Do you want to
Okay.
3:30
p.m.
or
Monday.
3 is fine.
3?
All right.
So what are we doing?
3
Monday,
o'clock,
the
3
9th,
o'clock on the 9th,
3 p.m.
At what time?
3 p.m.
Okay, because
3
I have a 1 o'clock meeting with
Oh.
another
Oh.
body, so, but that's
Would-
only from 1 to 2.
Would
Okay.
3 work or
3.
2:30 or 3 would be good. 3 is good.
So 3
All right,
o'clock
thank
on
you
the
very much. And
Monday, the 9th,
in
is
the
that what we
library
decided?
With our new
that work for
wonderful
Brian?
system.
3 o'clock, Monday, the 9th is what we said?
Yes.
Yes?
I'll put it-
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
Yay. Thank you. And Brian and I will discuss
3 o'clock.
and we will have a nice November, everyone. Oh, wait, any trustee comments?
I voted today and it was a huge relief and I encourage everybody to go do so.
And when you put your ballot in, like 24 hours later, you get a
Yes.
text from the Secretary of State that says,
Hey,
I
you
got your
voted.
ballot and you voted.
Oh,
So
that's good.
That feels very
Yeah, I
good. It
just
does.
dropped it in this morning.
It does.
Yeah, that's what, Vote Max or something like that.
Right, I
Yeah,
forgot about
whatever it
that.
is, they tell you your ballot was counted.
So are we thinking 3 to 5 on that Monday
Yeah.
at the, I mean, at maximum?
Any other
Monday the 9th.
Yes.
trustee
and-
comment?
Don't have a comment this time.
Don't choke on the
Okay.
turkey
Quiet.
bone.
All right, library director. Comment?
Just that thanks to all my staff. And then also I did a presentation for a special council session yesterday regarding Path of History and Dutcher Street. So that is up on YouTube. So if you have any interest on those topics, there's a special council session meeting report.
What, was it successful? I mean, were you happy with it?
I think I'm happy with how the report went, and it was just trying to tie in The topic of Tutor Street and the sale of those properties, and I think I was able to tie in the multiple histories that are in there and just tie it into a narrative. And I don't have all of the information because there's just hundreds of years of history, but I think at a higher level about what's there, and actually just to let council know that we are very thin at museum staff. So the asks for, can you do this and can you do this? It takes budget, it takes staff time, it takes all of these kind of aspects on there. And it doesn't just happen by itself.
Right.
So we have to make sure that it's, if this is a historical aspect that we want to talk about in the city and really focus on and represent, that we appropriately look at it and support it. So I felt like the people learned a bit, at least somebody came out with one bit of knowledge from the presentation.
Great. If there's no other business, or meeting is adjourned.